Hi there, I'm Carly Rowland, founder of Saray. Over 10 years ago, I was diagnosed with endometriosis, and what followed were years of full body pain, infertility journeys, multiple surgeries, and just searching for answers. And along the way, I realized just how many women were carrying stories like mine, navigating complex health challenges, trying to piece together their wellness, and often feeling dismissed or alone while doing so. Saray was born from that experience. A simple daily formula featuring clinically researched ingredients selected to support immune health, hormonal wellness, and overall well-being. Our daily support formula is proudly made in the USA in a CGMP certified facility because quality and transparency matter to us. To learn more, visit sarayhealth.com, follow us on Instagram at sarayhealth, and become a part of what we're building.
If you need like a little girl, I have a daughter who is the most dramatic child.
She's hysterical.
Really?
The other day I got a voice note from her and all it was vagina, vagina, vagina.
My
That's
future
it.
kid. I love that. My future child.
So I'm going to be honest with you guys. When I first heard of a movie called Lady Parts, I laughed out loud. And then I actually read what it was about and I got a little emotional because I have been that person. And so has Jamie. And sitting in a waiting room trying to explain to a doctor what is going on in your body. And it is so personal, so vulnerable. And then being told to just relax or being told it's not a big deal. Or my favorite is from the movie when the female doctor looks at you and she's like, just breathe.
Yeah. He's like, just breathe. Mind, pelvis.
Oh,
Shout out to
and
amazing
the
actress.
actress that plays the character page could not have nailed the facial expressions and just like being like, okay, and how does that fix my pain down there? I was dying.
Yeah, it's one of my all-time favorite scenes of the whole film. Both of the actors in the scene, Suzanne and Valentina, who plays Paige, who does an incredible job, if you haven't seen it yet. Their banter and their facial expression, everything about that scene makes me crack up every time I see it. And I've seen it probably like 1,000 times now.
I think the facial expressions and just the way that they performed, I honestly felt like I was watching real life. It was a camera just following them around. The wild thing is that almost every woman we know probably has some version of that story where they just keep getting dismissed, and it just keeps going. And it's just a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
We should probably introduce who you are. So our guest today turned her personal story into an award-winning film, a comedy, by the way. And in doing so, she gave voice to something millions of women have been told to stay quiet about. I'm your host, Callie Greenberg.
And I am Jamie Silva. This is the Girls Room After Dark. So let's get into it.
We are so excited to have you. Bonnie Gross, like I said, is an award-winning comedy writer, producer, post-production pro, and the writer and executive producer of the incredible film Lady Parts. So Bonnie, welcome to the Girls Room After Dark.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
We've been looking forward to this one. And whenever Callie was like, Jamie, you're not going to be able to leave who I just got in contact with, and I'm going to their screening, I was like, wait, go back. I need you to fill me in. How did you do this? This episode is going to make you laugh, and it's going to make you feel things which, if you've seen Lady Parts, you already know that's kind of Bonnie's whole thing.
And if you haven't seen it, who is Bonnie, though, before Lady Parts? Give us that background.
Yeah. Before my whole world became vulvas and vaginas, even I'm wearing a vulva necklace. That's how entwined we are now. But
I mean, it literally is part of you.
I feel like I need like a vagina necklace.
She sells vagina earrings. They're so cute.
Okay, well, shopping spree after.
Yeah, I know. ladypartsfilm.com/merch. Now, I can give a quick rundown. If you don't know what Lady Parts is, it's a comedy feature film based on my own true story of moving home with my parents to get vulvovaginal surgery, or what's called a vestibulectomy. And you can laugh. It's funny. And I went through years and years of medical gaslighting, trying to figure out why I was having pain in my vulva. And like we kind of talked about, didn't have the words to describe what was happening to me, but it would feel like a hot knife was digging into me anytime I'd sit, wear tight pants, try to put a tampon in, ride a bike, and finally found a doctor who believed me, thank God. Shout out Dr. Andrew Goldstein, which if you're in this world, you know these names. And going before that, I always struggled with chronic vulvovaginal pelvic pain. I'm a recent endo warrior over here as well.
Oh, I'm sorry, but welcome.
Welcome. Yeah,
welcome.
a lot of studies recently have been linking vestibulodynia, endometriosis, MCAS, a bunch of these things that a lot of us struggle with. I just got hypermobility, so that's been a fun one. But before all of that, I was born and raised in Philly. I am a huge Eagles fan. Go Birds. I am a crazy Eagles fan. I've seen every season of Survivor. I've tried out 3 times. I would love to go on the show. And
Hello,
my
Survivor
God.
production. Let's get her on.
let's get me on. I know my body. I know I won't win the challenges. That's not the point. But I am here
No,
to
but
be
it's
fan
proving to
favorite.
people we're going to
Yeah.
tag them until they get in contact with you.
Yeah.
I would love
Make
to
this
go on the show.
make this a clip, Callie, and we can just
I'm
tag
going to.
Survivor.
I'm going to.
Yes, I have tried out with Survivor. I'm big on the CBS reality. I've tried out for Amazing Race twice. I would love to go on that as well. That's what I do in my spare
Big
time.
Brother.
Wait, is that the one
I'm
when you
not-
have a partner on The Amazing Race?
Yeah.
Who would you bring as your partner?
See, it's a good question. I've been trying to convince my dad to.
Okay.
I think we would do great. I think we would kill it, and I think it would be such a fun time.
I love this.
Yeah, I know. These are my pipe dreams, but I went to college at University of Alabama, Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
I ended up finding University of Alabama at a college convention fair because I walked up to the wrong booth thinking it was a UC school, and I wanted to go to college in California and be like the next Barbara Walters. I was like super into like that world and did the morning announcements and stuff at my school. I was a pretty shy, quiet kid, honestly. I wasn't really outspoken or talking about vaginas or really anything of the sort. I probably was what you would have called a pleasure to have in class.
Me too.
And
Did your work, put your head down, quiet,
yeah, quiet, do my own thing.
Yeah, that was not me.
Yeah. Now it's not me. I went to college and slowly became who I am today. Like learn and grow, and
Yeah.
I think part of that stemmed from I travel a lot. I've been to like 26 plus countries and 45 states. I traveled for the first time at 14 years old to Australia and Fiji. And then I feel like that kind of helped to find independence and find out like, who I was, have to kind of rely on myself. And yeah, basically when 2016 hit and I got the surgery and I ended up writing a blog post about it and kind of started to put it out there is like the first time I really started to feel really confident about it myself. Because at first it was so scary to put that story out there, put this personal information out there and be super vulnerable. So 10 years ago, if you had told me, oh, you'll be on this podcast right now being like, I had this happen to my vulva and let me talk about, like, I would have been like, no way, that's not happening. So it's fun to see who you were and not that that person's so different, but how far
Just
you've kind of
evolved.
evolved. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ever since then, I just like comedy. I like being goofy. I like trying to live life when I can, but I also have been working in TV and film for 10 plus years. After the surgery, I bought a one-way ticket to Los Angeles with no job and no place to live and a dream. I had an air mattress that I slept on for 3 years, which you can see in Lady Parts. I had trash bags with my clothes. Me and my roommate Katie had no furniture. It was like the saddest apartment with like SpongeBob decals up. These are great, everyone. Your 20s are where it's at. But no, it taught me a lot. I ended up going back to working full time, going back to school at UCLA for screenwriting. That's kind of I started writing Lady Parts. And I feel like I moved around a lot. Then I lived in New York. I lived in Birmingham, Alabama. I kind of traveled a lot. And I'm really happy I did everything because it all kind of led me to these experiences that I think really just made me who I am.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. Lived experience. It creates the realest stories. And, you've spent years helping people behind the scenes, and then you decided to step out with yours. And what a story to step out with.
yeah, what a way to make an entrance.
I think it's amazing that you decided to make a movie based on your actual life. And I do want to
Yeah.
go there because I think a lot of our listeners are going to hear what you went through and feel really seen without giving too much of the movie away because we really want people to go and watch this. I promise you,
Yes.
it's hysterical. Can you walk us through your journey dealing with it? What was and how did it show up into everyday life for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, actually, the youngest memory I have is at like 6 years old. I was having a lot of bladder issues, actually, not voiding properly, having trouble leaking, which now we know is kind of connected more to the hypermobility endometriosis kind of realm. But again, we're finding connections between all this and the vestibulodynia realm. If you don't know, I have a condition called neuroproliferative vestibulodynia. So try to say that 5 times fast. It's basically at the vulvar vestibule, which is, if you're looking, it's the opening, like a vestibule, like leading into a house. And I had too many nerve endings, which means it was causing pain. And that just kind of got worse as I got older. I also have pelvic floor dysfunction. So by the time we hit about 13, when I got my first period and we were trying to put a tampon in, I had a twofold issue. Like, one, it would feel like it was burning going in, and then the second is I felt like I was hitting a wall, wouldn't go further. And at the time, no one talks about it. No one's like, tampons are supposed to be painful, or you're just stretching out, or you're just not used to it. It can be uncomfortable. And no one ever mentions that it's not supposed to be painful at all in the slightest. And as I got older, sexually active, it just got worse and worse and worse. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, just sex and like just don't have sex. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. This is affecting every moment of my life. You wear underwear or pants that touches it. It hits those nerve endings. It literally feels like a hot knife is being dug into you. You're riding a bike. You're just trying to put a tampon in to go swimming. And even if it is sex, everyone deserves to have pain-free sex and pleasure that is not
I don't know
painful.
what that is.
Yeah, still trying to figure it out.
Still trying to figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah. And
And you obviously knew innately that something was wrong, but
yeah,
you didn't know what. And when you expressed your pain to your parents, were they concerned or did they have any idea that any of this even existed as a condition? Or were they like everybody else is, unfortunately, it just wasn't talked about. So they didn't know that it was a bigger deal than it was.
yeah, I am very lucky. My parents are like, super open, liberal. Talked, gave me the sex talk, like gave me the real talk. But I think the problem is when it comes to this stuff, they just didn't know
Mhm.
and didn't have that knowledge. And I remember saying tampons were uncomfortable, but again, it was one of those where, like, oh, well, they can just be a little uncomfortable at the start, and it wasn't them trying to say, oh, we don't care. It was just a
Mhm.
lack of knowledge there. And it kind of also was me, something very personal and vulnerable. You don't want to like go tell your parents, like, I had sex and guess what? It was terrible and painful. And I keep trying to put tampons in and it feels it's just a conversation you never want to have. And even you go to the doctor and they check in and they ask, oh, are you sexually active? But there's no follow ups. Like, are you in pain? Does it hurt to put a tampon in? How are you feeling? Are you able to orgasm? Like, all these things that they just don't ask about. And by the time I did finally have that courage to go and talk to my parents about, like, it's really painful, blah, 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 like, I'm so lucky they were so supportive. I think my parents looked at it more as our daughter's in pain. She's unable to do everyday functions without pain, so we need to solve this. And I think a lot of people kind of get on this thing where because it's your vulva, your vagina, whatever, lady part you want to like talk about, oh, we can't talk about it. But there's a moment in the film that I love where it's like, oh yeah, if this pain was on your shoulder and it was a nerve ending problem, we could talk about it. Everyone could chat about it and we'd probably have all these things. And
Yep.
because where it is like location, 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 suddenly it's taboo, shameful. We can't talk about it. And yeah, I get a lot of reactions of like, I'm surprised the parents were so supportive and everything. And I'm like, yeah, well, at the end of the day, if your child's in pain, you want to fix that pain. And that's
Yeah.
really all that this is, whether it's endo, PCOS, vestibulodynia, any of these kind of chronic conditions. It's unfortunate because location, location,
It's so
location.
true.
Yeah. And to go back on that, how you're saying it's the shoulder, people always ask after endo excision surgery or hysterectomy, they always say, do I really need to do pelvic PT? Would you go have shoulder or hip or knee replacement or reconstruction and not go to PT? And
Yeah.
they're like, well, no. Well, this is the same thing. Your pelvic floor holds everything and all your nerves run down that. So, yes, you should do pelvic PT.
Yeah, I tell anyone, I'm like, Pelvic PT, the pelvic PTs are incredible. They are heroes and lifesavers, and I love them so much. It's holding up all these organs. Think about your bladder, your rectum, your colon, your uterus, all these really important things. And if you're getting anything done there, or even you have a condition like endo, like pelvic PT can help. And it's so funny because they always think it's such a women's thing. And I'm like, no, men have pelvic floors as
Yeah,
well.
we talked
Everyone's
about that at your
Yes.
screening, which again,
yeah.
thank you so much for inviting me to moderate that. I had a really great day. It was a great turnout. It was really fun to see the movie again. Going back to the knee and shoulder things, my dad's an orthopedic surgeon. And after he watched me go through my 24 years of everything, I think as a doctor, and Jamie, I'm sure your husband can relate to this too, like feeling a lot of shame because here he is, a doctor, and he had no idea what
Mhm.
was going on with me. And then when finally got the answer, I remember saying to him, Dad, could you imagine somebody coming into you saying that their hip is hurting and you told them to just go meditate? No, that's where I think for him, it was, I can't believe my daughter has spent 24 years being told different versions of the meditate, breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's like the most common answer for anything women's health related. If you come in with any sort of pain or any issue, they're like yoga and meditation and journaling are great ways to start. Start what?
When I put a tampon in, and not just putting it in, taking it out was equally as painful for me.
Yes.
And I had to put 2 Ultra Plus tampons in, one to the left, one to the right.
Okay, so
So
I just want to bring this up real quick because I had my uterus removed. Before I had my surgery, I would always try the cups or the disc, and it made me want to punch the wall
Mhm.
to get it in and take it out. First of all, those discs, I can never get it anything small enough to even attempt. Once I would just power through and get the cup up there, I was like, do I not have it upright? Because I'm leaking everywhere. This
Yes.
is terrible. Then to find out it was my pelvic floor being a rock that nothing could actually conform up there to seal. So it was like sticking silicone to a rock. That's why I was leaking all the time and it would never suction the way it was supposed to.
Mhm.
Ladies, if you're having that issue, it's not you putting it in wrong. It could definitely be your pelvic floor. You have pelvic floor dysfunction, you're hypertonic. I found out that word kept being said to me. What does that mean? Basically, your pelvic floor muscles are just a rock with tissue over it. Okay, cool.
Okay, cool. That's where mine are at. Yeah.
So now what?
So, yeah, it explains why as soon as something tries to go in there, like a tampon, everything just comes together and clamps. You're trying to stick something into a rock.
Your body's trying to protect itself. It guards anybody who is looking for a doctor or a surgeon because they think they have endo or any sort of women's health thing going on. You will hear the word guarding so much. At first, I was like, why are we using this word? But then once they understood, they're right. I do feel my abdominal muscles and everything. I'm constantly sucking in my stomach or clenching everything. And it takes a lot of work to get you to reverse that. I would have to tell myself to just relax. It's such a mind game for everything.
Which
So,
is
yes, whenever
very
they say mind pelvis, okay, but you got to fix the actual problem in order for me to connect the two.
you did a good job of focusing on the dilator part and having to stretch your vagina out. And I think that there's such taboo around masturbation and just knowing your own lady parts as a woman. And I think portion of the movie where it was, okay, this is part of the PT after your surgery, you have to stretch that area out, and brings back to the guarding, right? I wanted to ask you, when you first started using the dilators, even with the smallest one, when your body knew something was about to enter it, did you clench up? What was it like finally getting to number 4 in the dilator?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. And if you imagine dilators, they look like these little spherical things. And the first one's pretty much the size of your pinky, and then they go up in size. And you use them to stretch out all the muscles there gently. And you use breathing with it, but you don't just breathe and everything's better. For me, it took a very long time because for so long, anytime that anything touched that entrance, it was painful. So my body made a connection that, okay, well, if something touches here, it's going to be painful, which means you should clench and protect yourself and not let anything in because it's painful. And so the real challenge also, it is also a mental thing too, training your body mental at the same time to be like, something's entering and it's not painful and it's okay. And now that it's in there, it's okay to stretch it out a bit. And movie magic, you get to see a montage. A lot of things, it's a sped up process, but that took about a year to get to number 4. It took a very long time. It's not linear. A lot of people think 1 dilator done, 2 dilator, and sometimes you have a really bad week or something happens and you kind of regress a bit, or you're like stuck somewhere for a bit. And on top of it, we were also doing other pelvic floor stuff. You're happy babies and your bridges and you're strengthening, because at the same time you have to do both. And it's just such a process to get your little dilators out, get yourself feeling relaxed and comfortable, and then you gotta
You're living
wash.
at home.
Yeah, living at home and washing them in your bathroom sink and letting them dry. And I tried dilators before the surgery too. This isn't in the movie just because movie magic, but we did try pelvic PT first to rule out it wasn't muscular only, and we tried to rule out it wasn't hormonal. So we tried going on birth control and estrogen, testosterone cream. We tried all the other stuff and came to the conclusion that it is neuroproliferative, or like nerve. But I remember doing it, and I actually had a roommate who found the dilators one time, and it was a really interesting conversation because they were like, well, I think they were like, can I borrow something? And I was like, yeah, it's under my sink or something. And I like completely forgot that I left them there to like dry on a towel or something. And like, yeah, there's just so many little, and then like, you're trying to like, relax enough to do it and you can hear something going on outside. It's a
Even at pelvic PT, if you hear a ruckus outside or someone walking by, you're like, okay, it's just.
You're in a safe space, but you still feel like they can see you.
Yeah, like someone's going to walk. The worst person in the world that could come is going to walk in at this very moment right now and see everything.
I want to go back a little bit and talk about how you started going to all these doctors. Talk about how frustrating it was and what it was like for you to keep showing up, and what were they saying to you? I want to know how they were dismissing, because as you know, Callie and I were dismissed quite a bit, and we heard a lot of things. We can add some new to our
Yeah.
to our repertoire of dismissals.
If they say this one.
Yeah, the fun list of gaslighting. I didn't really start trying to seek care for it till around college. The first time I actually went to the student health center, I was 19 years old. I told the doctor it was painful to have sex, and it kind of like felt like this really painful sensation. And again, I didn't have the words for it at the time. And I remember he tried to get me a pregnancy test, then said, well, why don't you just drink a glass of wine before sex? Maybe chill out a bit. And I was like, well, from my chart, which you should know that I'm 19. And also, I don't think a medical professional should be suggesting alcohol as a cure. But he's like, oh, it's a fake, like, it's a college campus. I'm sure you have a friend with a fake. And a lot of people I talk to get that alcohol, drink a glass of wine. That is such a common theme, which is crazy to me. I don't want anyone to ever get that.
I'm sorry, but a glass of wine as a medical recommendation, I don't think that was taught in med school or residency.
No. And just calm down, have a glass of wine, chill out. Maybe you're just nervous for sex. And then of course the pregnancy test, we got to do that. There's been multiple times where they claimed it was some STI, STD.
Oh yeah, we've had that.
Yeah. I tried to put on Xanax. They told me they thought I was just like really anxious. God, there's so many things that they've tried to tell me. The yoga. I've had someone tell me to not be so promiscuous. And I was like, no, that's the problem. I can't do.
You're like, I would love to be promiscuous. Like
I would love to have.
I'm trying to do.
I would love to have a hoe era, but that's like not happening for me. I was like, I don't know what you want me to do. Or anytime I think you're pregnant, I'd be like, no, it's not possible. You're not hearing what I'm saying.
I cannot believe that this is stuff that is said in America, where we're supposed to have top A++ healthcare, and this is the best that we can do for women.
What's really crazy to me is I also volunteer with an organization called Tight-Lipped, and part of the mission is the residency campaign right now. So right now in OBGYN residency, there is nothing in the curriculum that makes it so that these OBGYN residents who are going to be these OBGYNs have any knowledge about these conditions like vestibulodynia, lichen sclerosis. I think they just added endometriosis to the guidelines this year. I'm sure, I don't know how comprehensive it is, but
it's terrible.
It's awful.
It's terrible. There's a reason why people like us who are having symptom go to your vagina doctor, the OBGYN. You're having pain and down there, you're like, this is where I'm going to go. And then you go and they don't know anything and they gaslight, or they tell you to try more lube. That was definitely one I got like over and over again. Or I don't know.
The lube thing, The samples that I got was flavored one time from my
Oh.
GYN, and it ended up giving me a raging yeast infection.
I was
Oh,
allergic to it, and my vagina literally felt it was on fire. And I got pulled over for speeding because I was trying to get to the hospital. And I remember the officer pulled me over, and I'm sitting there crying, and I'm grabbing my vagina. And I was so honest. I was like, you can follow me to the ER, but my vagina is on fire, and that's why I'm speeding.
they let you go.
This poor officer, like, talk about a movie scene, right?
Yeah, I was
He
like, where's
was
the film?
I was like, please just follow me to the hospital and you could write me a ticket, but I have to get there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like,
so did you know that Monistat, its main base is alcohol? And that's why so many women cannot use Monistat because it's basically just putting alcohol up there and it just tears up the
Uh,
tissue. It just
oh
makes you
yeah.
raw.
it was
So
raw.
if you want to hear crazy like backstory too, I also have like chronic yeast infections. And actually I had one that lasted for 3 years because no one could solve it. Yeah, because I tried the Monistat. I tried all this, the over-the-counter stuff.
Were you
And
on
then
antibiotics
finally
for
I
that
go to the
long?
doctor, they test, they're like yeast infection, so they give me fluconazole. It turns out I had a different strain called C. glabrata, not the normal candida.
Yep.
But for
Mhm.
years they kept giving me fluconazole and I'm taking something that the yeast are resistant to.
Oh my
And
God.
it's just
I feel
making
like this happens so much because I kept getting treated, and whenever they tested one time, just regular candida. So I just kept getting the diflucan to the point where I was taking diflucan. I want to say I took a pill every day for 3 months or something,
yeah,
a
yes.
lot. And then I had mentioned that to my endosurgeon. I was like, hey, I feel I'm getting a yeast infection. And she's like, let me swab you. Let's just see what's going on. She swabbed me and she's like, I bet that this has been going on for a long time. You have bacterial vaginosis.
Mhm.
So she treated it with the 7-day course, and I have had, knock on wood, I've had no issues since. If you guys are having more than one yeast infection, make them swab you and culture it and do a full yeast panel because a lot of women, it's not just regular candida.
Mhm.
It bothers me so much. Like I 10 years ago, there wasn't even like, anything to take for it. I tried boric acid for a whole year. I was putting boric acid suppositories up. It did nothing. Finally, I had to take lorcanazole, which like you go temporarily blind in a little bit when you take it because it lowers your blood sugar so much. And then I recently took, I think it was called Brexafem because I got one recently, and I kept telling the doctor, I was like, fluconazole won't work. You can give it to me. It's not going to work. I need something else. And she's like, oh, there's this new one on the market, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, okay. Gave me explosive diarrhea. Shit my bed. Gave me so much. It did get rid of the yeast infection, but oh my
And some
God.
and it gave you a colonoscopy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I
Like
lost 10
bowel prep.
Yeah, literally, I was like, I lost 10 pounds, but I guess the yeast infection's gone.
Oh, I want to touch on the insurance because this
Mhm.
is really important. As we know, insurance sucks. What's the point of it? Doesn't cover anything. And
Mhm.
since these conditions don't have a specific code, it's not covered. And is it true that the insurance company really told your mom that they wouldn't cover it because it was cosmetic?
Yes. Again, that was 2016. So things might have changed. So I don't know about today's terminology.
Did you
If
guys fight it?
No, it would have cost us more money to fight it at that point. But yeah, they came back. They said it was cosmetic. So I was seeing
We
basically.
were removing a nerve. We're removing nerves.
They're like,
So yeah,
sorry, vaginal rejuvenation. That's
no,
cosmetic.
literally, I think they were thinking it's a labiaplasty or something in that realm. Because again, you're talking to an insurance person who knows nothing about like
Nothing. Yeah,
actual medical anything, and just sees
correct.
like vulvar, vestibule, blah, 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 like, oh, this bitch just wants to tighten up, or some.
I just think about the guy, that
Yeah.
old weird guy in his basement reading
Yep.
his insurance, what they're submitting.
Yep.
They can't
I
even
know.
pronounce it.
I know
Yeah.
when
Like,
my husband tries to get something through, he always asks for a peer to peer to go over why they denied something. And the first question he always asks is, what's your training? Who are you? What do you do? And so many times it's, I'm a podiatrist, I'm a dentist. And he's like, I'm trying to get my patient life saving a scan or
yeah.
something. And how is a podiatrist going to tell me what I can and cannot do in an ICU setting? It's
Mind-boggling.
ridiculous.
Ridiculous. Like, you're going through a third party. Like, shouldn't my doctor be deciding what I need and
Yes.
don't need, not some random person working for an insurance company?
Who's probably located in India? Like,
And they're probably just going through
They have a checklist.
They have a checklist. And like, I think I'll have to look it up, but I think there's actually not a code technically for the vulvar vestibule as a part of the body too, which is a huge problem.
Even
Okay.
better.
It doesn't even exist. Why even bother? When I was 18 years old, I went to get my first pap smear. My mom is actually a cervical cancer survivor. She found out she had cervical cancer in her 30s from a routine pap smear. And as you probably know, that's the reason we go in for pap smears, is to scrape the cells and check for cervical cancer and catch it early, which in my mom's case, thank God, they've caught it early and she's still with us here today. So as soon as I turned 18, my mom was like, you're going in, you're getting your pap smear, and because it's so important, it could save your life. And I remember going in to get the pap smear done. And as soon as the speculum touched me, it felt like just a hot knife was digging into me. I remember yelping in pain. And the doctor, instead at the time, held me down and said, stop squirming. Continued to do the test, because at that point the test was more important than how I was feeling. And then I was shaking on the table. The doctor left without asking me any follow-up questions. As long as they got the test, that was what was most important. And after that, I basically didn't go in for a pap smear for years, even though I know A, it runs in my family, and B, I know why and how you can truly like get life-saving information by going and simply getting a pap smear. But I put it off for so long just because that experience was so bad. Come to find out,
That's so traumatizing.
good story.
So traumatizing.
But I've told that story a couple times. I think it's like really important to know that like, someone might be avoiding appointments, and okay, it's not even just about sex. You could be avoiding a life-saving screening.
Yes.
My total hysterectomy.
Yes, and I've been on her about this because I don't like to go to doctors.
Wow.
I get so much anxiety and they're always like, your heart rate is so high. Well, yeah, because I don't want to be here and I'm scared that you're going to make me feel even worse and make me crawl into a hole even deeper than what I want to be in right now. The compassion and empathy is just, it's
Side manner.
gone. Number, and they have to see you in 15 minutes. And God forbid, if they're already behind schedule, you might get 5 minutes. I actually met with someone that is in Atlanta. He's originally from Canada. He is creating this thing called Pap Easy. It's the size of a tampon. It's small and
Light flow, heavy flow. You got to give us the size. What are we dealing
it's
with?
small. I mean, I would say it's probably medium. But it has a camera, it has a Q-tip, it has AI. Basically, what he's trying to do is be able for it to be sent to people's houses and they can do it themselves at home and then send it to the lab to get the screening or send it to underserved areas. Because in a lot of cultures, you can't have this done because they can't have somebody else doing these tests. So this would be a way for them to be able to do this. I found it very interesting. A lot of women do not go for their annual or for their screening appointments because of all of the gaslighting. And I will say this, a lot of women do not die of actual cervical cancer. They put it off until it's so bad. They usually end up dying from kidney failure. I know, no one likes to do it. I hate PAPs. I was 100% so quick to tell my surgeon when she asked me if I wanted to have my cervix removed while she was in there doing hysterectomy. I was like, yes, because I don't want to do PAPs anymore. If we could make it easier, more women will do it. We have to do these screenings.
And like, if we took women seriously when they go in and they say they're in pain, like there are things you can do. You can use a pediatric speculum. There is no reason they have to be using that adult speculum on you. No reason at all. Also, like,
I mean, can we also work on revamping this speculum?
Design? Since I don't think it's been updated.
Have you guys heard of a company called Teal? T-E-A.
I have.
So I did a pap smear with them actually recently, and it was a similar vibe where like I'd say like a medium supersized tampon and it's at home self collection. There wasn't a camera, it wasn't like that, but it was really nice because I got to sit down on my bed. I could use my dilators before if I wanted to feel like, oh, you know, like put myself up, on myself down. I could use my lube on it. I could like put it in. I could be in control of it. And it was so tiny. And I'm not going to say I was amazing, done, pain-free because I have a lot of...
You're in control.
I'm in control.
That's a lot of it too. I feel for me at least is having that you can't really sit down there. You're just sitting there with your butt hanging off the end of the table with your feet in stirrups. The speculum is cold. The gel they usually use is cold. My surgeon, whenever she did a pelvic exam, and not only was the speculum warmed up, the gel was warmed up, the table was warmed. It makes such a huge difference.
And it's like a lot of times you're naked under just literally a paper cloth, little tissue paper, and they don't even talk to you before you get undressed. A lot of times I'm like, could we just have a 5-minute conversation, like, just to see where I'm
Yes.
at before we get all undressed and all up in my business?
You're lucky
You
if they
know?
even make eye contact with you when they enter the
Yeah, they're
room.
like, here's the
They just
paper,
walk in,
everything
they'll scoot
goes.
down,
Scooch.
and
Yeah,
then do their
scooch.
thing, take
The
their
gown
gloves
is
off, and
open
they're
to the
like, "Okay, well,
front.
we'll let you know what the results are." Okay, I feel
Okay.
violated right now.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times people don't realize when you can always say no. If it's happening and you want to tell them to stop, like you have full control to tell them to stop. But it just makes me so upset because I know even for myself, knowing the risks, knowing what it could be, I was like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that because it's
Yep.
so painful.
Important. We've talked to it makes me kind of sick how many women we've talked to who haven't seen a gynecologist or OB
Hmm.
until they were in their late 20s. And the fact that their primary care doctor wasn't telling them that at 18 you need to
You could
start getting an annual. These girls were like, we had no idea. My mom, my dad didn't know. The doctor never said
no.
anything. And Jamie and I are like, wait a second. You're 25 and you've never seen an OB.
Yeah, it's
That is
crazy.
so if you're out there listening, go see an OB, please.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Whenever I started on birth control for painful periods, all of my annuals pretty much started.
Because I got my period, I transitioned from a primary to a OB.
Also, shame on these pediatricians for
Mhm.
not educating. Your job is to not only educate
Mhm.
children, but the parents who are taking care of them and responsible for these children. I don't think that it's fair that you're brushing something painful off or something that really is not normal, even though you want to say it's normal. It's not normal. How dare you to brush them off and continue on and not be like, hey, I'm uncomfortable with treating this. You should go see an OB. Or
Yeah,
do you?
anyone, specialist of some kind. I think about how many times when you're asking a pediatrician or a kid, there's just some questions you could probably ask to get an idea of what's going on. And I think that because they think it has to do with your down there area, like, oh, they're kids, we can't talk about
Your
it. But
no
Yeah,
parts.
your no parts,
yeah.
it's like, yeah, like they have a body part that's like we should take that seriously. We should deal with it. So when they are 18, they probably could get a pat. Like, I think about how many times in the journey, if I had just gotten to step 20 so much earlier,
Mhm.
how much of this could have been avoided. And it just got worse and worse because it just was lingering, getting worse, 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 which I know Lindo could be the same way. It just baffles my mind that no one
It's
caught it.
it's
I mean,
unfortunate. Thank God that there are people like you who are willing to put your story out and be vulnerable. We talked about this at the screening too.
Mhm.
It's because of somebody else's vulnerability to share their story that gave me the strength to say, okay, I want to come out with mine
Yep.
and I'm going to devote the rest of my life to making sure
Mhm.
that future generations don't have to experience what I did and their story doesn't end the way mine did. And we could sit here for another 45 minutes. So we're definitely going to need you to come on again because there were a ton of questions that I didn't get to
I
that I
know, I know. I'm
time
so
to ask you.
sorry.
Don't apologize.
no, this is.
Can you let everybody know where they can find you, where they can rent the movie, and any other details that you want to share? And before you do that, I want to ask you one question, which is if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
God, I know that's gonna make me emotional, like, thinking about it in that sense too. I think I would tell I guess advice-wise, I have 2 that I always try to do. One is, you know your body better than anyone else, and, just because a doctor or authority figure says something doesn't mean it's true, and if you're feeling pain in your body, then you're feeling pain in your body, no matter what that might be. And the other one I always say too, and has to do with making the film because it was self-financed, self-produced, really just a labor of love, and a lot of times we pitched it and we got a lot of no's and we got a lot of people saying, "This is not possible. I don't think this is a good idea. You should try something else." You name the gambit. And I always say, well, if there's no chair at the table, we'll bring a damn folding chair and make it work. And that's what Lady Parts has been about. That's what this podcast has been about too. And being vulnerable with each other. If you're vulnerable and you share your story, you'll find that people around you will start to be really vulnerable and start sharing too. I have a post-production company called Brain Womb.
Okay.
So anyone that's interested in post production, whether it's color grading, VFX, finishing, anything of the sort, you can definitely reach out. You can find us at brainwomb.com or info@brainwomb.com is the email. We're happy to chat and see what we can help with in the post-production process. And that's kind of what I love doing, is helping other indie filmmakers. I have a huge soft spot for indie filmmakers because I get it, and I think it's super impressive. You can find us on Instagram at ladyparts_film. We post updates there all the time. So if you go to ladypartsfilm.com, we have all the ways you can stream it. We're on Amazon Prime, Google Play, and YouTube Movies. All the links are there, or really easy to find, I promise. And if you want to host your own screening, whether that's in person or virtual in US or Canada, we partnered with a site called Kinema, so you can actually go on and do that.
That's it for today's episode. Join us next week for an all new one. Thanks. Bye.
That's it for this episode. Make sure to hit follow and subscribe, and join us next week for all new episodes.